with an eye on Beholder, one of those stars we're telling you about for the Breeders' Cup, Donna Barton Brothers.
Well, Todd, nobody does left brain to right brain better than you do, and that was a very smooth transition. With our eye on Beholder yesterday, she was a sight to behold. We saw her in the paddock walking around. Richard Mandella brought her into the paddock himself. He had a couple of handlers there with him, but for the most part, he handled her himself early anyway. He was in the stall with her. They had her down in the saddling stalls, and she had her customary hood on. It's just earmuffs, really. So she, when she schools or does some of her morning training, sometimes she'll have those earmuffs on with ear plugs or cotton balls inside of her ears, and the earmuffs on over top of that. I guess it just calms her, just like American Pharoah gets the earplugs. I guess it's sort of the same effect. She looked great in the paddock yesterday, Todd. There were a couple of other horses in their schooling that were acting up. They were not Breeders' Cup horses, but they were acting up, kicking and, you know, a little hot and fired up, and she didn't do any of that. She never turned a hair. She looked like the professional that she is. And one other thing that I'll add, for people who haven't seen Beholder up close and in person, she looks like a colt. You know, Todd, you'll recall Winning Colors looked like a colt, and she was able to beat the boys when she won the Kentucky Derby in 1988. Zenyatta, big, impressive-looking filly who looks like a colt, and Beholder's the same way. So, you know, her form certainly fits with these horses, and physically, she's a specimen who fits right in with this group of classic contenders for this year's Breeders' Cup, Todd.
This is all good news if you are someone who is backing Beholder coming into the Breeders' Cup Classic, because it has been well documented. Her last couple of times traveling didn't go well, but there were some pretty serious circumstances, certainly to her last time, but things seem to be going very smoothly here for Beholder as we look at the pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Who goes favored, Paul LaDuca, American Pharoah or Beholder in the Classic?
I think it's going to be very close. I'll give the small edge to American Pharoah as going favored, but you know, I mean, she looked unreal in the paddock. I agree with everything that Donna said. You know, Joaquin Jaime, who's down here doing the work for us, covering, doing all the stuff in the morning, you know, we cover the California racing. We know Richard Mandella's interviews. They're very short answered.
Yeah.
He's close to the best. He's got dry humor. Funny, funny man. So he's been pretty chipper. And when he's pretty chipper,
yeah, it's true.
He knows he has the goods. And I felt that going into the TVG Pacific Classic, when basically the second choice was his other horse, Catch the Flight. And I think that's why he entered, because he knew he had the goods. And I think he knows he has the goods again. Now he's got to beat a Triple Crown winner, and it's going to be her toughest test ever. But I think she might be up to the task.
Okay, so do you think they're just being cheeky when they said we're not going to commit till Monday, either the distaff or the Classic? I mean, we look at the pre-entries for the distaff. No way Beholder goes there, right?
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of different variables that go into this. You know, you got rain, you got a lot of other stuff that happens. And, you know, listen, she's also worth a lot of money, so they got to make sure they put her in the right spot. You know, Rich has always been her first, and that's probably why she is what she is and where she's at. So I don't think so. I think he's going to take on the boys, and I think she's going to make a very good account of herself.
Well, look at what she's done so far in her career. Think about this: 2012 champion 2-year-old filly, 2013 champion 3-year-old filly, first female racehorse to win the TVG Pacific Classic. Remember, the great Zenyatta didn't even try the TVG Pacific Classic. But think about the races that she's annexed in the Breeders' Cup alone. The juvenile fillies, the distaff. If she were to add the Classic, that's a run we may never see again.
That is true. And by the way, Mother Nature happens to rain. Like, we got a little bit of rain today. I know she's not bred to run long, and she proved everybody wrong with that with the TVG Pacific Classic win, but I'll tell you what, she's got a pedigree to swim in the slop.
Pedigree to swim. I like that.
She really does. So, I mean, she's going to be a handful.
Many fans already in town anticipating the Breeders' Cup, and they're letting it be known whom they're a fan of. How about this Beholder fan out here at Keeneland?
Awesome.
And if you follow Keeneland on Twitter, it's first of all a great follow, and this picture is on their site. A true hashtag Beholder fan at Sunrise Trackside this morning. We're ready for you. Hashtag Breeders' Cup 2015. Hashtag I love Keeneland at Breeders' Cup. For all the latest information leading up to the Breeders' Cup, you'll find it here on TVG, and just as important, you'll be able to see those Breeders' Cup races live on TVG up until the Classic, and you can wager on all the action at TVG.com.